What is up, everybody? As you know, it's NFL Sunday. We are at the beginning of NFL Week 5. You know, Turf Talk is here every Sunday morning around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to dig into the full NFL Week 5 slate here today. We're going to get into the Thursday night football action. But let's get you through this intro just here first. But be sure to tune in, guys. This one's going to be interesting.
One-on-one.
Flares out to the right. Caught over the middle and into.
He's at the 45. Are you kidding? Oh! He's going to go!
Already gets hit. The ball is out. And Philadelphia has it.
What's up, everybody? And like I said earlier, welcome to NFL Week 5 Turf Talk Edition. As you guys know, I am your host, Scotty. You can find me at Scotty Drown on all social media. As you know, I am accompanied by my very faithful co-host here, Dylan Davis. You can find him at DylanJD98. And of course, we are streaming live here on DSM Media. You can find DSM Media on Twitter at DSM_media, on TikTok at DSM Media, and on Instagram at dsm.dosomethingmajor. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment the video. Make sure you're sharing it out. Help DSM grow. We're trying to get this as big as possible and get everybody involved in the show here. But before we get into the NFL action, of course, we have to do some housekeeping. As you guys should know by now, DSM Media is sponsored by Gents Barber Lounge. DSM Media is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of the two great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area, multiple award-winning barbers, and being able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. Make sure you book your appointment today. Here's a short message from our sponsor. Awesome. Make sure you are taking advantage of that. They are one of the best barbershops in the Philadelphia region. And as you can see, some famous heads go through those barbers, like Lane Johnson and company.
Sir.
So be sure to check it out, Gents Barber Lounge. But now time for the fun stuff, the actual business of what we're here for, Dylan. How are you doing today, my man? Happy Sunday to you.
I'm good, man. You listed about 14 different social media platforms that we're on. So, guys, check us out on all of them. But most importantly, head on over to the YouTube channel specifically. Like my man James here, that's where we can be interactive with you guys today. Like the show, share the show, whatever you got to do. But that's where we can pull up your comments, thoughts, and questions. I'm good, man. The Philadelphia Phillies advanced to the NLDS last night. So you can't bring down my mood today, Scotty. You can't bring my mood down today until 4:25 if something goes wrong in the Eagles game. But we'll be discussing that on DSM Pregame Live, not right now on NFL Turf Talk.
Yes,
Thursday night football, I'm not going to lie, you and I forgot there was a game on Thursday night, I think. Because there's been a lot of bad primetime football games so far through 4 weeks of the season, through 5 weeks of the season. And the Denver Broncos feel like they've been involved in each and every single one of them.
Yeah,
So we'll start by breaking down that game, and then we'll kind of get into the full Sunday slate, give our best bets of the day, and then enjoy the Sunday.
Love it. And yes, we got to get to the best bets today because I got some good late afternoon ones, I would say. I don't really like the early days.
Oh, I hate the slate today.
Yeah,
I absolutely hate it.
I'm not a fan, but I got some good ones in the afternoon nonetheless. But let's get into this Thursday night game. We have to do it, right? It was a 12-9 game where the Colts were able to come out on top. No Jonathan Taylor. And, of course, Denver without Devontae Williams. Now we find out Russell Wilson has a partial shoulder tear, which I'm not happy to hear that he's injured.
Right.
I'm just happy to know that there is something wrong that can explain kind of the way he's playing right now.
It's very convenient.
Yeah, you don't believe it.
Very convenient, my man.
It's very convenient that we didn't hear anything about this.
Not a whisper about the injury throughout the first 5 weeks of the season, and all of a sudden, once the Denver crowd starts to abandon ship already, now there's an excuse being made. Now there's He's got a partially torn lat in his throwing shoulder.
And he's going to play
Listen,
today?
I'm not going to say it's
next week.
I'm not going to say that it's not true. It's just something's off there.
It definitely was a little weird, and I said that to my fiance yesterday. As when I saw that news break out, I was just like, "Oh, well, okay." I mean,
that what it reminded me of, like literally, like if you're following the Phillies Cardinals series that just wrapped up, the Cardinals tried to throw their closer for 5 outs in Game 1, and he starts to get rocked, blows the lead. All of a sudden, when they pull him, they start to hint at there's a finger issue. He hurt his middle finger on his throwing hand or something. He's going to have an MRI done. MRI reveals nothing's wrong. Like, come on, bro. Like, just because the ship sinks, just because the ship sinks doesn't mean excuses have to be made. So the rusting is definitely very weird to me.
It is weird, and just to speak on this game briefly, because there's not much to talk about, my man. I mean, these two teams are just so disappointing offensively, at least. Matt Ryan, he had a few throws. I mean, those 2 interceptions to that safety on the Denver Broncos. I can't think of his name right now. But those 2 interceptions were just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
It was Caleb Stearns. And it's like, what are you looking at there? He didn't even see Caleb Stearns on either one of those interceptions. And then the same thing with Russell Wilson. It's like, are you trying to throw the game away right now? It was very reminiscent of exactly what he and Pete Carroll did in Seattle in the Super Bowl. Like, obviously it's not that big of a stage, but like, you're just throwing the ball away. Like, I on both of those interceptions, it's like, what the hell are you doing? And then you throw the ball late. I think it was Jerry Jeudy on that slant route in the end zone.
Oh, it was KJ Hamler. It was
KJ Hamler. Yeah, and Stephon Gilmore just picks him off. He reads it like a book. And both of these quarterbacks.
Back then.
You know which one?
Yeah.
No. This game, Stephon Gilmore picked him off at the end of that game. And it was the second interception in the end zone. That was Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't know what Russell Wilson's looking at in that situation, and it's like just take a field goal at that point. Get off the field with points. Do you expect the Colts to go out there and be able to score a touchdown at that point? I mean, I just didn't understand. It's a lot of carelessness, recklessness, and I think that's ultimately why the Denver fans were leaving. Like, you have 9 points on the board, and you're out here just throwing the ball wherever, not even looking at your receiver on the one throw. I think that's the one you're talking about, where he just doesn't even look at.
It was the last play. It was the last play of the game, KJ Hamler. It was literally the 4th down play, where in overtime, where it ends.
Oh yeah, okay. I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And KJ Hamler kind of, not on purpose, obviously emotions are running high, but he kind of shows up his quarterback by, throwing a tantrum in the end zone and slamming his helmet, but rightfully so. And that's my kind of biggest concern so far with this marriage in Denver. Like, it feels like Russ is already losing that locker room. Like, you see, and again, it's just a screenshot. I get it, but you see the picture of Melvin Gordon staring at him when he's sitting on the bench after a turnover. You see KJ Hamler. You hear the fan base. I don't know if you saw Kyle Brandt's rant about Russell Wilson, but it was incredible on Friday morning, talking about how Russell Wilson might be the biggest poser that the NFL has to offer. But that's my thing, man. I don't know if he lost that locker room already, and we are 5 weeks in to a massive contract agreement like that. That's trouble, man. And listen, if the lat thing's real, all right, I'll give you a slight pass for how the first 5 weeks have looked. But it's all that inconsistency we talked about last week. Like, you can't allow the Indianapolis Colts to come into your house minus Jonathan Taylor, looking the way the Colts have looked through the first 4 weeks, and you can't move the ball. You can't cross the goal line one single time. It was a really bad look, man.
It was a really bad look. And the last thing I'll say about it is, just regarding the Russell Wilson thing and Kyle Brandt calling him a poser. I get what he's saying, because he has zero awareness, man, like, of the situation. Like, nobody wants to hear Broncos country, let's ride, after you just
he
lost
did it after.
12-9.
Yeah.
He did it after he lost, man. And he didn't even like smile, like nothing. Like, it was just like zero awareness. Broncos country, let's ride. Like, you're not riding anything, man. Like, 9 points on a primetime game. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing, man. I'm out on the Broncos. Until further notice, they're not touching the Chiefs. I don't see them. You put up 9 points against the Colts. You're not beating the Chiefs. Like that. That's not possible.
And you scored 11 against the Niners 2 weeks before in a win somehow.
So yeah, make that make sense. They got lucky early on in the season with some of the turnouts that they've had.
Like
their defense is solid. Like it's sad.
Defense is very good.
It's
good. Very good. And it's crazy because you're sitting here looking at how this defense is playing, and you're like, okay, wow, like if they even have serviceable quarterback play, they're going to be a good team. Exactly. And when you hear the name Russell Wilson, you think of what? Future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion. We had him top 10 right?
coming into this season, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. And he looks bottom 10 at the moment, and this offense looks like one of the worst. But to me, to kind of wrap this game up, like this was so much more about bad Broncos than it was good Colts. There was nothing good about what the Colts did on Thursday night. Both teams were incredibly ugly on the offensive side of the ball on Thursday night. But the bottom line is, Matt Ryan and the Colts were able to push it down the field one more time, and that was it. So we'll see. Is there any word on is he like you said that he's playing next week? So they already announced
they haven't announced that he's playing next week, but they haven't announced that he's out. So it's like right. A partial tear in your shoulder, in your throwing shoulder. I don't see how you play through that.
Well, when things are going south like this, Scotty, you know what it's going to be, right? He's going to be questionable for the next 3 or so weeks,
right?
But he's going to play, and when things look ugly and they're losing or they're winning ugly games offensively, they're going to lean. Well, Russ is nicked up. Russ is questionable when I don't know. Like I said,
and they got them on Monday Night Football again next week.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm pretty sure the Broncos are on primetime football like 3 more times this season.
Against the Chargers, man. It's horrible. My God. Yeah. Russell Wilson's questionable as of right now.
That is.
Yeah. I think that's a Chargers bounce back game opportunity, I think, as well as today, which, kind of a good segue here. Let's get into today's slate. And we'll start with the game that's currently on. I was going to say the 1 p.m. slate, but right now the Giants are taking on the Packers in London. Packers about to score. The Packers about to cover. That's what it's feeling like.
It's tough luck.
It's feeling like they are.
The game's on in the background, and I'm watching Aaron Rodgers just pick apart.
He looks good, right?
It's not even that. It's like it's reminiscent of like when the Eagles had Bradley Fletcher and Kerry Williams at corner, and it's just tight end screen, slant, just 2-step drop, bang, ball out of his hands, and they just moved down the field in no time against the Giants defense, and that's what it's looking like today. So for those of you, I had the Giants to cover. Scotty took the Giants to cover, and it's very early. There's 7.5 minutes left in the first half, and it's only a 1-score game. But the way that this offense is moving, I don't love the look of it, and that is a walk-in touchdown. Lewis, tight end. I don't know.
Mercedes Lewis. Interesting.
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know 98-year-old Mercedes Lewis.
He's still on the Packers, man. I swear that's him.
I had no idea. It was him, by the way.
The Giants, that now they're down 14 points or no, 17-3.
They're about to be down 14.
14. So it's hard to see the Giants passing their way back into that game with Daniel Jones.
Right. You never know, man. You never know.
One thing I'll ask you about this game, we could kind of move on since it's underway, but who's had the more impressive wins so far, Green Bay or New York Giants? Or who has had the more unimpressive wins, I guess you could ask. So you look at the Giants.
Well, they're both 3-1, right? Yeah,
they're both 3-1. So, Giants have beaten the Panthers. Who they beat? Titans.
Yeah, Titans week 1, Panthers week 2. Lost to the Cowboys, and they won last week. It was another bad team, wasn't it?
I'll take a look. I think it was the Bears. It was the Bears.
It was. Yep, it was the Bears. So here's what I'll say, though. So the Giants have no impressive wins whatsoever. Right. And we know that the Packers are the better team, obviously. Right. But I think the Packers have had the less unimpressive, less unenthusiastic wins so far this year. When you're put on that pedestal, when you have the back-to-back reigning MVP of the league, and you're expected to be a top 3 seed and win your division in your conference, when you get taken to overtime against Alex Zappi at Lambeau with that New England offense, and then the week before you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 1 point with they're missing their top four wide receivers. They have looked really bad offensively. But like you and I said kind of before this game started, the game we're going to bet against them is the game they're going to drop 42, and they already have 17 with 7 minutes left
Of
in the first
course.
half. So they're en route to score 30 plus today.
Well, maybe Green Bay turns the tide in London. It's weird to see the Chiefs out there in London.
For sure.
So next game on the slate, we have the Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. And this spread is pretty wide, my man. I know Kenny Pickett's getting his first start, but the Buffalo Bills, it's looking like minus 14 right now. So they are 14-point favorites at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. How are you feeling about this game?
I don't think Kenny Pickett has a chance in hell. It's in Buffalo. You and I know far too well how the Steelers' offense has looked. Now, again, that's under Mr. Trubisky. They're hoping to provide a spark with Pickett today. This was the worst time, in my opinion, for them to throw him into the fire. Like Scotty went, it's not just today with Buffalo. If you look at the next 5 or 6 games that Pittsburgh has on their schedule, with the way you started out the season 1-3 so far, you should have just let Mitch ride out this bad wave and then let Kenny come in the final couple weeks, and then it's his job to take over for the future. You're throwing him out there now. Buffalo is going to have a field day today. Kenny Pickett's going to throw 2+ interceptions again today like he did last week. I like the Bills to cover this one easily. Their defense has looked really the Steelers defense, has looked really, really bad. And now the news came out this morning that TJ Watt is his timeline's getting pushed back because he just had knee surgery apparently. For not on his injury, not on his shoulder or whatever. He had knee surgery. So I think that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in this Buffalo offense picks apart the Steelers, especially being in Buffalo. I think Kenny Pickett has a brutal starting debut.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm glad you said about the Buffalo Bills because I agree with you. I think the Bills are going to cover today. They are they're due for a big win here, right? Like they're due for a dominating win. They've had a couple close calls the last few weeks, some tough games against the Ravens, against who was it before that? I think they may have lost to the Dolphins the week before that. So they've had some tough games the last few weeks as far as
and they started out with the Rams, dude. Their schedule's been really tough.
Yeah, exactly. So they've had some tough games, and this one should be an easier one, but I don't think they're going to take it lightly at the same time. They did lose to the Steelers last season in that Week 1 matchup, so I'm sure they're going to take care of business today. They're due for a dominating win. That offense needs to get going today. It's been a little while since we've really seen Josh Allen and that offense moving like a well-oiled machine. I do have the Bills covering today at home against Pittsburgh. Moving on to the Chargers at the Browns, and the Chargers come in as a 1.5-point favorite over the Cleveland Browns today. What are we thinking with this game? I'm leaning Chargers, quite honestly. I think they cover. I think they win today. And I think they kind of get back on the nod. They get back on the right path, the right trajectory. But the Browns, they have been inconsistent, but at times have looked really good. So I don't want to, just discount the Browns and count them out, but do I see Jacoby Brissett taking down, the LA Chargers today? No, I do not. And I think the Chargers turn the nod today. How are you feeling about the Chargers?
This game has to be all about the Browns defense if they want a chance at winning this game. Because like you said, Jacoby Brissett is not going to be able to go shot for shot with Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense. And finally last week, they got Austin Eckler the damn ball in the red zone, and they finally let him pay it off. And maybe that kind of sparked the offense in a big way there. It's another week removed from that rib injury for Herbert, so he's a little bit healthier. Obviously, they have injuries all across the board with Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, they thought Rashawn Slater, Jalen Guyton, they're all out for the season. But after what I saw Cleveland do last week against the Atlanta freaking Falcons, no, I have no confidence that you're going to go in and beat the LA Chargers, who we both had high hopes for heading into this season and had a lot of confidence in heading into this season. The only thing that I look at in terms of trends when it comes to picking these games, it's just typical NFL football. The Browns lose a game they shouldn't last week. They come home, they're underdogs at home. Their defense will show up today. I want the Chargers to win. This might be the toughest game of this slate for me. I'm going to go Browns. I don't know why.
Interesting.
It's just a trend kind of thing for me. I think Nick Chubb, you have that boost. I think Nick Chubb
Yeah.
finds the end zone. I think this is a very run the ball, keep Justin Herbert on the sidelines, and
Fair.
I think Herbert might turn the ball over once or twice. The big question I haven't even seen is Myles Garrett playing. I would assume he is. So that's a big question mark for them.
You just check really quick what he's looking like on the injury report.
Let's see.
Does not look like he's on it, so that's good.
Jadeveon Clowney is questionable. Anthony Walker's questionable. Greedy Williams is on the IR, obviously.
And the line did move to a 1-point favorite for the Chargers as well. Looks like
so. It's essentially a pick 'em on the road.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm just, I'll go with Browns. I don't want to overthink this one.
Yeah, I hear you. Just go with your gut. It is a pick 'em game for a reason. It's a big matchup. Both teams 2-2 within their respective divisions. Trying to stay afloat here. So you look at the other end of the scale. It's kind of a big game, a big matchup for both of these teams. You got the Ravens and the Bengals playing on Sunday night, and then of course that impacts the Browns and where they're at in their division. And then of course the Chiefs and the Raiders play on Monday Night Football. So once again, another division matchup where the Chargers are trying to keep afloat with the Chiefs. So one of these teams will be 3-2. One of these teams will be 2-3 in a really rough spot after this game. Yeah. But I am leaning Chargers on the road. But I get your point.
Obviously, I know we're probably going to lean Chargers with this question because they're the one that we have more expectations out of. But who does this game mean more to in terms of those two tough divisions as you laid out? The difference between 3-2 and then 2-3 through 5 weeks is pretty steep, even though it's only a 1 game difference. Is it much more important to the Chargers to come away with a win though?
See, I think so. Because at least for the Browns, that Deshaun Watson, and I hate to say that, but like Deshaun Watson is coming at the 10-game mark. Like you just have to survive and stay afloat until that happens, and then you're going to get a significant boost. I would imagine he hasn't played in a while. I would imagine you get a significant boost once he returns. So as far as like just trying to stay afloat, would the Browns have looked at this game as one of the games that they have to win in order to stay afloat this season? I don't think so, right? Like this is the Chargers team that we thought was in the top 3 of teams, top 5 of teams to start this season.
Super Bowl pick.
You know what I mean? This is a bigger game for the Chargers because there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I know Keenan Allen's out, but it's a hamstring injury. He could come back and tweak that hamstring again. Like there's no light at the end of the tunnel for the Chargers. They just have to figure it out.
Right. Especially
and I think that's a lot more relief.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that outlook for the Chargers is a lot more bleak than it is for the Browns, where, quite honestly, the Ravens nor the Bengals, obviously the Steelers, have not, have looked great. So, I would lean this is more important for the Chargers. But you got Browns, I got Chargers in that game. Definitely a pick 'em. We'll see how it goes. Next game in the slate, we have the Bears at Vikings. We don't have to spend too much time with this.
Real quick, Vikings.
Yeah, fair. I have the same exact thing on my paper. Minnesota 7.5-point favorite. You think they cover?
Oh, I do. I like what the Bears have done defensively to start the year, but my God, Justin Fields has looked really poor throwing the football this year. Yeah. Their offense, they have no weapons, and we talked about that all off season. I think they're just a very bad football team. It is in Minnesota, by the way, so it's not like they're going into a cold Chicago type of game. I think Cousins kind of has a field day. I think Justin Jefferson has a huge field day today. He definitely finds the end zone for me. I'll go Vikings, and I think I like them to cover too.
Yeah, I like Vikings to cover. I just think, like you said, the offense is too much. The Bears won't be able to keep afloat with this team. Somehow 2-2 the Bears with 0 passing game. I think Justin Fields has a little over 400 passing yards on the season. It's actually ridiculous.
Dude, the Giants are putting together a drive here. If you're not seeing
Let's go. Let's keep it close, man.
A 3rd and 12 they picked up, and now a 3rd and 9 inside the 5 they just picked up. Big time.
Let's keep it close. There. Next game on the slate, we got the Lions at the New England Patriots. The Pats are 3-point favorites coming into this game against Detroit. They are going to have Zappy, whatever his
Yeah,
name is,
yeah.
starting at quarterback, the third string. How are you feeling about this game? Because this game's weird to me. You got the Lions who are kind of beat up, right?
Who
They
you
don't have
want to buy
DeAndre
into,
Swift.
right?
You
We want to buy into the offense so bad. Amon-Ra
Highest
St.
scoring
Brown
offense in
is
the
supposed to
NFL.
be back this week. No DeAndre Swift still this week. But I'm sorry. Give me the Lions with the points. Like I like them to win. I'm definitely taking the +3, +3.5. I don't care if it's Bill Belichick on the other sideline. I don't care if it's in Foxborough.
Yeah.
That New England it's weird though, because the Lions defense has been one of the worst in football, if not the worst.
Weirdly enough, man.
So if Bill can kind of keep the offense in check, in terms of Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, New England could be in the game, but I'll take the Lions with the points. I don't trust Zappy to start a game and win a game. And as bad as the Lions defense has been, they are 1-3 after what we would consider a great start for them offensively.
Yeah.
They're going to find wins throughout the schedule. This should be one of those wins. This
has to be a win for them, right? To build that culture the right way. We obviously know they're not a playoff team. That defense is just not ready.
Well, that's a great point. Like we get to Dan Campbell, the rah-rah, I'm going to bite your ear off. I'm going to bite your face off, right? Like, and they want to play for this dude. How long can you buy into that when you just continue to come up small in big moments?
Not seeing the results.
You start this year 1-4 after everyone was making so much noise through 2 weeks about you. That's a horrible look. And at some point or another, you have to win games. You can't just be you can't just be an enthusiastic person. You have to start to pile up wins. And
exactly. Build winning tendencies, and winning tendencies, you go and you take care of business when you're supposed to. They're the highest scoring offense in the NFL this season so far. Put some points up. They shouldn't be able to keep up with
high scoring offense, and you might be 1-4 after today.
Exactly. That's a problem. And this is something where this should be a game where you can just put points on the board and hope to outscore the other team. It's as simple as that. I'm picking the Lions. I'm taking the Lions to cover as well, my man. And I do think they ultimately win this game. Next one, we got Seahawks at New Orleans. New Orleans 5-point favorite. Yeah.
Dude, this slate sucks. It
sucks, man. Even parlay wise, like individual, like player statistic, like player parlays, I'm not touching in the early slate, especially. Seahawks at Saints. New Orleans a 5-point favorite. Saints are 1-3. Looks like Jameis Winston, I believe he's supposed to return today.
I haven't seen a single report about him.
He wasn't listed on the injury report
earlier in the week, but who knows? Is Kamara playing? I hope so.
Kamara is expected to play. He's expected to play. How are we feeling about this game? The Seahawks are kind of overachieving, in my opinion, throughout this season.
I think people are really buying into the Geno Smith train a little too heavy for my liking so far. And don't get me wrong, like they're playing more inspiring football than Russ and the Broncos are, right? But
that's not saying much, though.
Yeah, I still like the Saints in this one. Their defense is too good, right? Like I don't see Geno Smith and this bad offensive line marching up and down the field, especially like you said. Same thing with kind of Minnesota to me. It's in Minnesota, not Chicago. It's in New Orleans. It's in that dome. I did not see Geno Smith in that offense walking down there and kind of keeping this a close game. So I do like the Saints to probably cover the 5.5.
I like it. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Saints in this one as well to cover. I'm a little iffy on the cover. I think it could end up being close, but there is a side of this where it could get blown open. The Saints are due for a win. They're obviously 1-3, and that benefits the Eagles heavily. We are hoping they lose. Don't get it twisted. But I do agree with you. I think that defense is just too stingy against the Seahawks team. That just, quite honestly, they've overachieved in a big sense so far this season.
The Giants just tried to run like a half-breed Philly special play that got broken down, but then the tight end was able to run it in from the 5 instead of throwing the ball like he wanted to. That's crazy.
What the hell? What a game in London.
Gets blown up at the 10 and then runs it in. That's crazy. Helps us though, man.
Absolutely. Looking at the next game on the slate, we have the Dolphins at the Jets, which I think this one is I'm about to say interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting, but
is it?
compared to the rest of the slate, it's my most interesting game. I'm most interested in.
I feel, yeah, that's true.
Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's probably as simple as that for me. Is why I'm interested. I want to see what this Dolphins team can do against the Jets. I know Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think you're a fan. I'm definitely not a fan myself.
I'm not, but he should be serviceable enough
Against
to
the
win
Jets.
a game against this Jets team.
You would
Again,
hope so,
Scotty,
man.
you're talking trends, right? And the Jets are coming off a big come from behind win against their Steelers team. This Jets team is not talented enough. They turn the ball over too much. They're too inexperienced.
That's the thing. Turnovers.
To win 2 in a row. And like you said, it's not Tua, but like let's not get things twisted, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Tua has looked really good throughout the first 3 weeks of the season before the injury.
Yeah.
Well, like, let's not act like he was a top 10. He might have been playing at a high level, but he's not a top 10 quarterback that they're missing, right? And if anything, if I'm watching the Dallas Cowboys be able to pull together 3 straight wins without Dak Prescott, who is arguably a top 10 quarterback, you're going to tell me I don't have faith in Teddy Bridgewater, who's been around the block in this league with those weapons, not able to win a game against the Jets. Give me the Dolphins. Give me the 3.5 all day long.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm all over the Dolphins today as well. I think once again, you mentioned something key there, and it was turnovers. I think Zach Wilson's going to turn the ball over a bunch today. Coming into this game, Jets, another team, 2-2. Are they, overachieving in a sense? 2 wins already.
No, for sure they are.
They
Especially
kind of
because
are,
Zach
right?
Wilson just came back last week. They were doing that with Joe Flacco before.
They're able to take care of the Steelers nonetheless, with Kenny Pickett throwing 3 picks in his first outing in the regular season. Yeah. It was interesting nonetheless. I'm taking the Dolphins to cover. They still, like you said, they have just too good of a surrounding cast outside of the quarterback, and Teddy is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
The next we got the Falcons at Tampa Bay. Last I checked, Tampa Bay was a 10-point favorite against the Falcons at home.
Still there. How are
we feeling about the Bucs right now, man? Coming off of 2 losses, you got Tom getting a divorce. AB's going absolutely nuts on the internet, and
someone needs to take that man's phone and he needs to be institutionalized.
Did you see the latest one?
It's not. With the picture of the of Tom outside the house. It's like a cartoon of Daddy's not living here anymore.
It's just not even funny to me.
It's not even that. First of all, look. This man took you when no one wanted
you in.
Your crazy ass. This man you lived with him. He and his family took you in, gave you another chance to rejuvenate your career, helped you win a Super Bowl, and then you come out and that's how you repay him. Obviously, we know that the antics last year against the Jets that we were talking about.
Interesting enough.
But it's not even forget the tweets, forget that stuff. Dude, the dude was butt-ass naked in a public pool and sexually harassed a woman just sitting in the pool. That's grounds to go to jail. And people just laugh at it. Oh, hey, B's at it again. At it again.
At it again.
Well, what's happening?
What?
I didn't know people do this on a daily basis. But the AB thing is stupid to me. Someone needs to take this one. He needs to be kicked off social media.
How we feel
I know the Falcons. I know the Falcons are the only undefeated team against the spread this season. Everyone's talking about that. They're 4-0. Give me Tom Brady and the 10 at home. Again, trends, Scotty, coming off of a beatdown loss at home last week. Obviously going through all the personal stuff he's going through. The wide receivers are back healthy. This is maybe the best defense in football right now. Marcus Mariota and that offense should not be able to move the ball up and down the field. Cordero Patterson is out now, who was their leading running back. I like the Buccaneers to cover the 10.
I'm with you. I think this is a bounce back game for Tampa Bay. I think Tom Brady, if nothing else, he's going to be pissed off, and that's the last thing you want to play against is a pissed off Tom Brady. And this is interesting enough for the division lead. So it's one of these games where the Bucs can't afford to overlook the Falcons, right? They need to come out and kind of make a statement. You're not on the same playing field as us. And this is our division. They're both 2-2 right now. So it's interesting enough, a game for the division lead. And I do think the Bucs cover in this case. I think it's a very important game. And that being said, they're way better than the Falcons. They're going to play their hardest. And I think the Bucs take care of business at home today. I'm with you. I think the Bucs cover. And the AB nonsense, yeah, it's
Don't
just
fuel the
that
fire. That's all I'm going to say.
nonsense.
And AB's fueling the fire of
That's
the
it.
greatest to ever do it right now. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's weird to say the least. Next couple games, maybe we can just go a little bit quicker.
yeah.
We have the Titans at DC. So the DC Commanders actually even the last time I looked at the
Yeah.
spread. How are we feeling about this game? What are you leaning?
Well, I'm looking ahead personally to the Thursday night matchup. I like Washington to beat Chicago this upcoming Thursday, and that's Snooze Fest. I'm going to go with Tennessee today.
Yeah,
The Commander Carson and that offense and that offensive line has not looked good. The Titans, after a bad start the first 2 weeks, have somehow put together back-to-back semi-impressive wins over the last
yep.
2 weeks. So I think Derrick Henry has a field day today. I think Tannehill takes care of the ball. I don't think Carson takes care of the ball today. I'll go with Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the one thing that remains consistent with Tennessee is that pass rush. They have a nice pass rush there down there in Tennessee.
Right.
I agree. I think they get to Carson Wentz, and it's just been a recipe for disaster for the Commanders. It seems like ever since that, I mean, even the Detroit game, they couldn't block for Carson, and that offensive line is just tore up from the floor up, literally. And I just don't see how the Commanders can get past that. It's going to be a tough game against the Bears, quite honestly. They'll beat the Bears. I'm with you on that, but I think it'll be a tough game against the Bears, quite honestly. They'll just be able to put up more points. I think it's as simple as that for that game, but I'm with you. I'm taking Titans in this game, even spread there. Next up, we have the Texans at Jags. And we got the Jacksonville Jaguars at a -7. They're the 7-point favorite in this one. Do you think the Jags cover? I think the Jags win. But this is a Houston team that has played teams close all season. They've given teams a few scares. I don't think they have a win just yet. They may have a tie. I think they tied with the Colts week one. Colts, man.
They did, yeah.
They did. How are you feeling about the cover? About the Jags today?
This game's important for Jacksonville to kind of show everybody that they weren't just a flash throughout the first 3 weeks. Obviously, losing to the Eagles last week in Philly. Are they for real? Again, it's not like they're going out and playing a tough competition today. So I don't mean it from that standpoint, but just bouncing back. Yeah, bouncing back after a loss and beating a divisional team. Like we're sitting here saying, oh, well, they should be able to beat the Texans. Well, the Colts weren't able to. Right. So it's not that easy. It's going to be a divisional matchup. Let's see how Doug Peterson and this Jacksonville Jaguars team responds. I do like them to win. The seven's a little stretchy for me, man. I don't love it. But I do like them to win today. I'll go with the Jags.
Yeah, I took Jags, but no cover as well. I have it written down here. Just think they're a better team. I think they're better than the Texans. They should win this game. And like you said, it's a game where they need to just prove that they are at least away from that pack, right? Like that pack of just non-contenders at all. Next game, and this I believe starts the 4:00 slate here.
Yep.
And we have is that the 49ers at Panthers? Is that 4:00? Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's a weird time for a Panthers game, but in Carolina, we have the San Francisco 49ers 6.5-point favorites against the Panthers on the road. Yeah. How are we feeling about that? I'm leaning towards the San Fran cover.
I like it. Yeah. No, 100%.
Their defense is too good.
It's not just their defense. It's the fact that I think Jimmy G kind of got that bad game out of his system 2 weeks ago in Denver. The offense picked things up against the Rams last week. There you go, Terry. I like your Niners to cover today. I like them to cover today. But it's more so just what I've seen out of Matt Rule and this offense for Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. Like I'm not understanding how you drop Baker Mayfield back close to 40 times and a healthy Christian McCaffrey is getting the ball 8 times out of the backfield. Now, I know he caught a bunch of passes, so he's getting more touches than just the 8, but 8 rushes in a close game for 3 quarters last week makes zero sense to me. Apparently, Matt Rule is losing that locker room, and if things continue to go the way they are, I see this as a blowout today. I like the Niners defense a lot. DJ Moore has been a non-factor, so give me the Niners 6.5.
Yeah, it's kind of it's surprising what's going on in Carolina, I would say. I didn't expect them to be this bad offensively for
Yeah,
sure. Thought Baker Mayfield could take them at least to a little bit higher level than Sam Darnold. They look worse in a sense than they did with
they
Sam
do.
Darnold. It's crazy. And hopes are not high for the Panthers. I do think Matt Rule is probably the highest on the list as far as probability to get fired before the end of the season. Would you agree with that? Like, who else? I'm trying to
Yeah,
think
no,
through
I
the
think
teams.
it.
I mean,
The only thing
Nathaniel
I'm looking
Hackett.
at, yeah, I was just gonna say, if things in Denver continue to go south, and the offense looks the way it is, and they lose a bunch of games, like let's say the Broncos only win 6 games this year,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think Nathaniel Hackett's probably on that list. But for sure, I think that Matt Rule is number one right now. I'm trying to find another name for you, like. Uh, Dan Cam like when does
Dan
Dan
Campbell.
Campbell's
That's fair,
timeline get
man.
sped up? Like I said, at one point or another, you have to start winning football games. And if the
Absolutely.
Lions with this offense, I don't care how bad the defense is, with this offense, if they go, I don't know, 3-14,
Yeah.
4-13, that's really poor for a
That's
team
really
that was
bad.
on that could win potentially 7 games. I'm not saying they're going to win 3 or 4 games, but if that's the case, yeah, he's probably on that list.
I think so. And eventually you gotta stop looking at, his presentation, right? That's the thing we looked at with Sirianni when he came in. Oh, how does he present himself? How does he
Yeah,
talk in press conferences? We have to look
it's
away
the
from
it's
that
the
two
opposite,
seasons. It's
right?
it's the
Yeah,
opposite, right? Dan Campbell's really impressive,
right.
but has been, lack thereof on the field. So I'm with you on that one as well. That's an interesting conversation that we may have to have later on, depending how these games go. Final game. Well, I shouldn't say the final game. We're not going to talk
But
Eagles
of the
and
forecast,
Cardinals.
yeah,
But as far as the games we'll talk about on this episode, we have the Cowboys at the Rams, right?
yeah.
And last I checked, the Rams were 5.5-point favorites at home against the Cowboys. How are we feeling about this game? I know we talked about it last week briefly. We had Hunter on in the comments giving us some heat over the Cowboys. Think he's been a little humbled this weekend. He was texting me earlier, not earlier, yesterday. He texted our group chat about the Cowboys injuries and the injured offensive line and how Jason Peters is now out. Jason Peters was never going to make it, guys. Like, like he
I was
was
just
never
gonna
going to
say.
be there for a long time. Like it's just what happens with Jason Peters.
Yeah.
How you feeling about this game, though, man?
It doesn't matter if it's a healthy Jason Peters. That's not the deciding factor in a Cowboys loss today. I said it to him on Tuesday night, and I think we talked about it again on Wednesday for a second. The Cowboys have. Hold on, let me say this very loudly for the people in the room. The Dallas Cowboys have a 0% shot of winning this football game. 0. I don't care. Like Cooper Rush, it's been impressive what they've been able to do.
It is.
Okay?
It has.
You've beaten the Commanders and the Giants. And for people to talk about who the Eagles have played, but then they'll talk about how impressive it is what the Cowboys have been doing. You're in LA. You had to travel up there. I just don't think Cooper Rush has the word I'm looking for, the stones. The
I don't
stones
see
to
it,
go
man.
out and win a big game like this with the beat up offensive line. I think Aaron Donald and the
Yeah.
Rams defensive line gets after Cooper Rush today.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's talking about Mika and that defensive front and the banged up Rams offensive line. McVay, I'm confident that McVay and Stafford will come up with a game plan where the ball's out of his hands quick. They're
Yeah.
exploiting Trevon Diggs with Cooper Kupp one-on-one out on the outside. So I like the Rams. I like the Rams to cover, man. I don't know. I don't see how this is a close game.
I was going to mention the Cooper Kupp Trayvon Diggs matchup for you because I know Cowboys fans, they've been out on the streets really, hyping up Trayvon Diggs throughout this first couple weeks. He had a good showing against Jamar Chase, and I think that kind of sent them over their
But
heads.
the Bengals offense as a whole was poor.
Right. It's not that Joe Burrow didn't have time to get the ball out. He's getting sacked every other play. So
nobody got the ball. T. Higgins didn't get the ball. Tyler Boyd didn't get the ball. Joe Mixon didn't have success.
I don't know, man. The Cowboys, if they win this game, then I think you have to start having a conversation about Cooper Rush taking the starting job. They shouldn't be beating the Rams on the road with a backup quarterback. And On the other side, the Rams, if you allow that to happen, like we're going to have a completely different conversation, which we already had to have about the Bengals, right? We fell off that wagon. They're bringing us back in a bit, right? But come on, the Rams need to take care of business at home. This is a perfect opportunity for a bounce back game. Your defense can show up, get to the quarterback, cause trouble,
This
get
this game
turnovers
is
for
all
your
about
offense.
Sean McVay. This
Help
game's
your
all about
offense
Sean
out.
McVay. I think Sean
Absolutely.
McVay has been horrible so far this
He was
season.
horrible
I think
against San Fran
he was
specifically. But
really
yeah, the
bad
entire
last
season.
Monday against San Fran. He was horrible in the opener. He was way too conservative against the Bills in the opener, right? You have to realize you are missing 3 or 4 of your starting offensive linemen. You have to realize your quarterback has struggled and is nicked up right now. You have to realize who your opponent is, what their strength is defensively. Get the ball out of his hands quickly today. Pick them apart up and down the field. Do not try to take shot after shot. Do not try to run the ball too much. There's no way I'm sitting back there and feeding Cam Akers or Darrell Henderson today. It's not happening. Screen game, Higbee screen game, cup quick hitters, stuff like that. That's how you beat the Cowboys today if you're the Rams. You do not try to drop Stafford back 3-5 step drops and let Parsons in them and DeMarcus Lawrence get after Matt Stafford today because it won't end well.
Absolutely. Any love for Allen Robinson today?
No love for Allen Robinson until he actually shows up to an effing game. I don't understand. Like, I thought this was an extreme upgrade from what Robert Woods was across from Cooper Kupp in the previous couple of seasons. And it's been a disaster, dude. He's only getting targeted like 2 or 3 times. It's really bad. And on Monday night, they want to keep highlighting how impressive he is getting separation off the line of scrimmage. Really? Well, because the numbers say otherwise. The 1 catch per game says otherwise that he's getting separation off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that's honestly completely untrue. I don't know if they were showing video clips with that, but I did see Dan Orlovsky break down Allen Robinson and how this Rams offense has looked. And basically Allen Robinson I think he was like ranked 141st out of qualifying wide receivers for lack of separation.
I loved the addition. I loved it. And now I would tell you
they're missing OBJ, man.
They'd be better off with an injured, older Odell Beckham Jr. right now than they are with Allen Robinson.
At least if OBJ was on the roster, he's coming back at some point. And at least when he comes back, he's good. Like, even after injuries, he's been good. Yep. He just always gets injured again. So it's interesting, man. They can change the trend. You've been talking about it the entire show. Trends and how teams what trajectory they're going in. Rams can kind of change their trajectory here with a dominating win. Go out there, cover at home. I do have the Rams covering that 5.5 point spread. The last game of the day, right? Sunday Night Football. We have the Bengals going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens come in as 3.5 point favorites. I'm so torn on this game, Dylan. This may be the toughest game of the. Yeah, it's the toughest game for me to pick. Sure. Maybe, you made a good point about the Chargers and Browns. That is a really tough game as well. But this is the more exciting game, and this is also a tougher game.
Stacked roster is a lot of offensive fun. So
I'll tell you how I'm feeling first off, and then I'll listen to you and see how I feel after. Yeah. But I'm feeling the Bengals, man, and I know. It always seems like I'm in love with the Bengals. I'm always acting a little biased towards them, but it just feels. It's one of those. It's what you've been talking about this entire show: trends, trajectory, where these teams are headed at this point right now. The Ravens have one of the worst, if not the worst, passing defense in the NFL right now, and it's kind of incredible, given their cornerback tandem. I know they've been beat up all season, but they can't stop teams from passing the football, and that is just not the calling card for the Baltimore Ravens. That's not how they play. Part of me feels like we could be in for a Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase hasn't had that explosion. And I know it feels like I've been saying that every week. Jamar Chase explosion. But, he did it last year against the Ravens. Those were his calling card games last season. How are you feeling? I'm leaning Bengals to cover at least in this game, most likely win. How are you feeling?
This is by far the toughest game to pick on the slate today because you mentioned trends and how things have been going, and obviously the way the Bengals started the season, Joe Burrow says relax, and they've kind of settled in. They've won 2 straight. But the reality of the situation is they beat the New York Jets, and then
Right.
you beat the Miami Dolphins at home when Tua goes out before halftime. Now,
Right.
again, I put the Bengals right back in my top 10 power rankings this week.
Yeah.
I like the trajectory they're on. Bottom line is the Baltimore Ravens at home. Yes, they're 2-2. They've trailed for a total of 14 seconds in their 2 losses.
Very true.
They've had heartbreaking losses, and they are to the Dolphins, who were on fire with Tua in that offense, and to Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills,
Very
with
true.
a last-second field goal last week. I'm leaning Ravens, but I really think this is a shootout of a Sunday. Like, I finally think us as fans get to sit back and just enjoy a primetime football game and not have to sleep our way through the Broncos and Niners or the Broncos and Colts. Notice how the Broncos are in both of those scenarios, or the Cowboys and the Giants. Like, all these horrible primetime games, I don't think you get that tonight, because I think you're right. I think the Bengals skill position players, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase,
Yeah.
I think they have big games. I just think Lamar Jackson has a bigger game. Look, man, he's right in the thick of it for
Fair,
the
man.
MVP race. Like we talked about it
Fair.
the other night. He had a bad week last week. He throws basically the game-losing interception in the end zone because he missed a wide-open read in the corner and got the ball there too late. He only threw for like 119 yards last week. He did not look good. I think that kind of changes tonight. Now, I don't necessarily mean with his arm. I think you see a lot of action Jackson, a lot of extended plays with his legs, picking up big first downs. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I don't think I like the 3.5. I don't think I would touch that with anything. Yeah, I don't think I like that at all.
Yeah, man. I honestly like your thinking there. I'm still gonna stick with the Bengals to cover.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with them to cover. I do think it's gonna be a shootout. It's gonna be a close game. But I will say, you got me thinking. I may put in an action Jackson parlay for tonight. Yeah. Have some fun with him rushing the ball around.
The second we do that, the second he gets shut down.
I know. But luckily, if that happens, then maybe my other parlay for the Bengals will hit. Which I guess this is a good segue as we've wrapped up the Sunday slate here.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll get into Monday Night Football tomorrow night with our recap episode for the Sunday slate, and then Monday Night Football preview. And then, of course, we'll be back later today with the Eagles-Cardinals preview game, which I believe is at 3:30. Is that when we're going?
Pre-game? Yeah.
3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep your eyes open for that one. Parlays of the day. What do you got for me today? Do you got anything good for the early slate, or are we leaning into the late slate for the most part?
So our best bets and our pigskin picks are brought to you by our friends at Luxinen, guys. So check them out at shopluxinen.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 25% off. Again, that is promo code DSM, all caps, at checkout for 25% off at shopluxinen.com. Real quick, my pigskin picks. This is tough, man, because this slate is so tight one way or the other. Like it's either a very good scary game or it is a shitty game like the Seahawks and the Saints. My lock's got to be the Buffalo Bills. There's no shot in hell they lose this game. My upset, I'm going to go with the Lions. I do think that the Lions beat the Patriots in Foxborough outright. I'm going to take them with the 3, but I don't think they need it. I think the offense is too much today. I like the Lions as my upset.
I like it. So I'm going to go with the other lock of the day, and that's going to be the Bucs against the Falcons, hosting the Falcons today at home. Like we talked about earlier, this is a game where the Bucs need to make a statement. You got to piss off Tom Brady, I'm sure, wants to, kind of redeem.
Yeah.
Not redeem his name. His name hasn't been tarnished. He's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. But he's just got a lot of shit going on right now. And I think he kind of clears that up a little bit, lets everybody know he is doing okay today. Tampa Bay takes care of business. That's my lock of the day. My upset of the day, I'm going to ride it out. I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Ravens tonight on Sunday Night Football. Bengals, we're going to ride. I'm back on the train. I'm picking up full steam throughout this episode. I was leaning before the game, and now I'm going with them as my upset of the day. So I will take the Bengals in Baltimore for that win. Quite honestly, they really need to win that game. In reality, as far as speaking on the Bengals, we talked about this before the season. We both had the Ravens winning this division. Not because necessarily the Ravens are the ultimately better team. They may be the better team. I'm not going to argue against that. But the Bengals just have a hell of a schedule. And they play all the number one teams in each division that they're matched up with because they did win the division last year. So you got to take care of business against your division foes, especially the Ravens, who are going to be competing directly with them. Parlay of the day, and I'll give you one for the 1 o'clock slate. Most of mine rely I actually have two. So most of mine do rely Sunday Night Football, Eagles game. And I am going to throw one down for the Cowboys-Rams. I just haven't decided yet. But as far as what I got for the early slate, something simple I have at plus 156 just to win some money here. I have the take me back. I have the Dolphins plus 4. So I have them within 4 of the Jets in that game. I have the Bucks minus 6.5, and I have the Chargers plus 6.5. So that's my 3 plays as far as just pick'ems in the early part of the game. And then another one I have at plus 708 is just any touchdowns. I have a James Robinson TD against Houston today. I have Nick Chubb against the Chargers. So I went ahead, laid that down with that, even though I got the separate one for the plus 100 payout for anytime Chubb TD. And then I got a Tyreek Hill TD against the Jets. Think he gets into the end zone. I think he's only been able to get it in the end zone. Was it twice against the Ravens?
So. Yeah,
that's the only time he's gotten in the end zone this year. I like Tyreek Hill with the tutty today. That's what I got for you today. I'll give you obviously the Eagles ones during the Eagles pregame show. You got any early plays today though?
Well, we already have the Giants one in right now. We'll see how that ends. But I have not placed anything yet. But the one I'm looking at here, I really don't love any of the spreads.
Yeah.
Like I'm not willing to parlay a bunch of the spreads, but I will tease it down. So I'm going to give you a 6-point teaser. I'm going to tease the Bucks down to -4. I'm going to tease the Vikings down to -1.5. I'm going to tease the Lions up to +9. And I'm going to tease the Niners down to 0.5 point. So essentially it's a pick 'em plus 260 for that 4-leg
I like
teaser.
That. Send that over to me.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to put that in right when we wrap up here. Because I might sprinkle it, but I don't love like combining the Vikings to cover 8 in a divisional game, the Bucks to cover double digit. I'm just
it's a lot.
I don't want to just throw money into DraftKings.
Yeah.
Even though it happens quite often.
Absolutely. That's why I teased a couple of them down as well. I didn't want to touch those spreads, but here we are, man. Another episode of NFL Turf Talk. That's going to wrap up this show, guys. If you're not already subscribed to DSM Media on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, turn the notifications on, and make sure you're tapped into every single show that comes live on DSM Media. We're bringing shows, content all week on our social medias. Be sure to follow us on social media at DSM_media on Twitter. From there, you can hit our link tree. You'll find all of our social media links there. As for myself, you can find me at Scotty Drown on all social media platforms. My co-host here, Dylan Davis, at DylanJD98. And, of course, be sure to check us out at 3:30 p.m. Obviously, we will be kicking off the Eagles pregame live show against the Cardinals. It's going to be a big matchup. We're going to dig into that, let you know how we're feeling. The Birds going 5-0 this week. It's going to be a big moment, but nonetheless, tune in 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. That is going to be it for this episode of Turf Talk. For myself, for Dylan, for DSM Media, enjoy some football today, guys.
One-on-one.